Are there any key things you're looking with somebody who hasn't had any formal experience?
I think it's interesting what you say then about limited knowledge, because limited knowledge is still knowledge, but I still don't know what field. Right. For example, somebody may have limited knowledge in the camera department. They would just need to show that they are then enthusiastic. For example, if it's a camera department, then who inspires them from a director of photography or cinematographer? Know something about your craft, or something that you have done that you can contribute and bring to the table, and your ambition.
From your experience, obviously running your own company,
and
then coming now to Bad Wolf, was your approach to interviewing different when it was your own company, or when you're now sort of working at Bad Wolf? Was it still sort of the same things you're looking for in people?
When you're interviewing people as part of another company, effectively, if I make the decision to take someone on, I'm effectively vouching for them. It's very difficult in an interview to get to know someone. So that's why it's important that you try to invest yourself and show that you're interested.
How do you feel about have you been in a situation where you've had a familiar face come back up for repeated interviews?
There was one occasion where one guy had put himself up for interviews for lots of different roles. And there's your problem. Because all he wanted to do was get into the industry, get in desperate. And it just didn't work, because every time you got to the interview, the conversation was diluted because he didn't necessarily know what he was coming in to do. On the other hand, I would also say, that if you're going for a position and you're being interviewed, you're not being selected, we would definitely encourage you to keep going again. And we do see that where somebody crops up quite regularly on these types of roles. You may not have been ready at one point, but you may have got more experience during a period of time. And we would encourage that as well, because we'd be interested to know, okay, so why didn't you get the role last time? Well, we could talk about that. Okay, so what have you done then to improve your chances this time? And that will go a long way.
Are there things that you think that help, either with the interview or even you think within the CV process, that help to stand out without being too gimmicky?
As you start off as a runner, you're known as a bit of a tea maker, or you're right at the bottom of the rung. But you know what? That's so important, because making the tea is not about being subjugated to the bottom of the rung and being treated badly. What it means is that you now need to understand the roles. You're going to make a cup of tea. You're going to be offering the people, very important people who give the jobs. You can understand their roles. Invest in them. Get to understand, do they like how do they like their tea and coffee? Then you can start getting into conversations with them. Once you start getting to know them, you can start getting into conversations with them.
In terms of other things that that you particularly find that help people stand out, either in CV or interview yourself?
I think. Well, like I've said, in an interview, it needs to be your investment in the role that you go in for. You have to be able to prove in an interview under pressure that you're willing to learn and understand your craft, and you've done some research into the area that you're going into. The CV is an interesting one, actually, because people have got a tendency to put too much information on a CV. It needs to be relevant to the role that you go in for. So make sure you only put on your CV what you understand, because if you're questioned on it, you need to be confident that you can answer.
You follow particular interview formats, for example, a STAR technique, the situation, task, action, result, or do you just set out kind of based on the job description and ask questions linked to that? Do you have a set formula within Bad Wolf?
I can't speak for anyone else, to be honest. I know I've got my way to try to make them as informal as possible, really, so I get to know the person. It's all about understanding who the person is on the other side of the table is really, really difficult, I have to say, because I probably will have never met you before, and somehow you've got to come across as being the right person for the role, and I've got to trust you when I take you on, and I haven't got a great deal of time to do that. So you've somehow got to make a good impression straight away. Just talk to me informally. Just talk to me. Show me you're passionate about it.
Is there sort of anything quite formulaic that you always sort of follow through? Is it just sort of to go up and get that question, the open-ended questions?
If we ask somebody to put in a statement or some kind of written statement, then we will pull questions out of their written statement. There's a couple of things when you're looking for someone. It's not just about your talent and your ability. It's about you as a person. How do you fit in?
Do you happen to know whether that kind of more conversation-based is something that's how you know of other people in the sector, or do you know of people within the TV and film production who are very regimented about sort of...
It's really important, I think, that we get to understand the personality of the person. So when you're interviewing people, it's kind of a given that you can have a conversation about the role and both people would know about that. What really frustrates us is if you come in for an interview and you're clearly there just because it's a job. You need to do your homework and understand the role. If you've never done it before, do some research into it.
Is extra sort of extra work useful to demonstrate an effort to learn more about the industry?
I think it is, actually. I mean, if you can get it, I think being an extra gives you a front seat viewing of how it works, actually. For me, any opportunity that you can get, whether it's a work placement or work experience, whether it's an entrant role, runner, whatever it is, just try to get it. But just do the research.